Hello and welcome to Kumi now. Thank you for joining us for this latest online gathering as we talk about mental health in Palestine. My name is Andraus and I work at Sabil. Before we start, I would like to remind you that our webinar is being broadcast live on Facebook and we will be posted to YouTube. If you want to make sure your photo does not appear online, please turn off your camera. We would also love if you could quickly share one of the links that are being shared in chat so that others may join. And as usual, if you have an idea or project you would like to share, you can share the link to us on Facebook. Or, As usual, if you have an idea or project you would like to share for up to 5 minutes in a future meeting, please email us at kumi@kuminow.com. We hope that you will find this session interesting and informative. Omar cannot be with us today, so we will catch up with him next week. We now turn to our main issue of the week, mental health in Palestine, and our special guest, Yuad Hakim of Palestine Counseling Center. As she speaks, if you think of a question, please type it in the chat, and I will try to ask as many of them as possible when we go to the Q&A. Ms. Hakim, please introduce yourself and go ahead with your presentation.
Greetings all. Thank you for joining me in this evening. I'm talking with you from Jerusalem, Palestine. I hope we don't have any problem in connections and communication. My name is Yuad. I'm a clinical psychologist and a certified supervisor. Originally, I'm from Nazareth. I'm a mother of 3 adult kids. And I worked most of my professional years, which are more than 27 years now, in Jerusalem, in full cooperation with the Palestinian Counseling Center. The Palestinian Counseling Center actually is an NGO that was established in 1983. By a group of psychologists and educators. The main idea of this center was to provide Palestinians with quality mental health services within the educational system and the community and within specialized clinics. And actually, the Palestinian Counseling Center was the first center to address the issue of mental health in a systematic and professional way in Palestine. Till today, we have 4 branches along occupied Jerusalem and the occupied West Bank territories. We have more than 40 professional staff, social workers, counselors, psychologists, professionals coming from the field of education, etc. I invite you all to go to the web and check our activities. We provide. Basically, I work within the clinical department, which means I work in therapy, but we have also programs in advocacy, in prevention, programs for children, for youth, for adults. We have a diversity of programs. And I think we are one of the very little centers that address men in therapy, address fathers, and we join them to most of our activities with great success, actually. And in Palestine, actually, we we are like all other people on earth. We have mental health problems, you know. We have bipolar, we have anxiety, we have schizophrenia, we have ADHD, we have all kinds of problems like any other people around the world. But because of the occupation that has been and maybe colonization of Palestine since the year of 1948, we see a continuous rise in mental health problems. Yet, we don't believe that that kind of pathologization that is going on towards the community is the right path to take. We see many times people are talking about, for example, more percentages of PTSD and more percentages of depression and more percentages of severe mental illness within Palestine, and offering more therapy and more help to the Palestinian people. While we think that this is the wrong approach to take, because we are, in this way, we will be dealing with the symptom, with the result, and not the cause. In the Palestinian Counseling Center and me, I adopt the vision that this rise is due to the colonization of Palestine. That is why we ask the international community to stop the occupation, to take a very clear step towards putting an end to the systematic crimes done in Palestine. And later on, we will be able to deal with our own problems as we already do as a therapist. So I would like to share some of the information that maybe can give you a better idea of what is happening on a daily based life in Palestine. Brian, can you present? I have some pictures to show you. Maybe you can put on to share. Are you with me? Yes. Maybe to start from the beginning. It will not be too much. Maybe to start from 9. Go ahead. We will put this presentation on the link so you can see. Go through it after. We can go to number 10 slide, please. Go ahead. Okay, there was maybe a problem in sharing the screen. What I wanted to show you is the map of Palestine, which shows that since 1948, our land has been shrinking and shrinking more and more and more, and Palestinians were accused of not cooperating in the negotiation process. But actually nowadays, you can see that in 1948, we had, for example, 100% of the land, but today Palestinians are in the yellow dots. We live, Palestinians all over Palestine, occupied Palestinians are living on 14% of the land. So whether we are negotiating or not, thank you very much, Ryan. Negotiating or not, we are negotiating on the very little land left to the Palestinians. Can we proceed, please? And on this, go ahead, just go ahead. We can see here that in this 14%, we have settlements built on this 14%. We have a separation wall, we have bypass boards, and lots of movement restrictions. Please proceed. Go ahead, and there are lots of, stop here please, lots of measurements taken on daily on every day towards Palestinians. For example, when we are talking about the apartheid separation wall, it's a barrier put and separate Palestinians from Palestinians, not as it is presented in the international media. Actually, the separation wall is 6 kilometers inside the West Bank, inside the Palestinians' wall lands. It is not on the green line. It is 6 kilometers inside the West Bank, and actually it separates Palestinians from Palestinians. It means if I am living in Jerusalem and I want to go to Ramallah, which is 10 minutes away from Jerusalem, the road might take me more than hour and a half to cross all the wall and go around this to enter to my place of work. That's why we believe that majority of us are majority of our energy is lost on the way rather than on the target. Like if I have to do this road on a daily basis, a road which used to take 20 minutes now is taking 3 hours daily, it is a huge hardship for me and for my colleagues and for, of course, children that are living on the two sides of the wall. Some of the children are living in one side and their schools are on the other side of the wall. So when we're talking about an apartheid separation wall, we're talking about ongoing a crime that is being, that is continuing till now. Can we go? In terms of settlements and settlers, it's a daily basis violence that Palestinians have to face. These pictures are from Hebron and from Bethlehem. Settlers are attacking Palestinians, asking them to leave their houses there on a daily basis. Lots of destruction of agriculture areas as well is happening. Can we just proceed? I will go through it. And we have another huge crime that is taking place on a daily, which is demolishing of homes. These homes, these houses were established, some of them even before the establishment of the State of Israel. Yet when the State of Israel decided to redesign the area, this is of course part of the colonization idea, these families have been getting demolition orders, which mean that the family has to demolish their house because the house is not permitted. How can you get a permission of a already built house on your own land? So it's an international crime. And we're talking about thousands of homes that were demolished. One of the most criminal ideas, I think, that is going on is that families are ordered to demolish their houses by their own hands. Otherwise, they are asked, if you want the state to demolish your home, your house, you will be asked to pay a huge fine, which is more than $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. So some of the families don't have this amount of money. And you can imagine what does it mean for a family, for a father, for a mother, to demolish their own houses in front of their children. As mental health professionals, as a PCC, we go to these families, we try to support them, to network them with other services that might help them cope with this tragedy. And actually, most of our interventions is to prevent the development of severe mental illnesses. It's not treating, it's more to prevent and to help people cope and develop resiliency, okay? And demolishing a house is more than you lose the walls that you live within. It's demolishing your dreams. It's a house is more than just walls. It's the place of feeling security, is the place of belonging. It's the place where your emotions develop. So by demolishing these homes, it's a systematic crime to demolish families. This is what we believe in. Please go ahead. Here, yes, we can see that violence is taking on a daily basis, and more than 72% of the Palestinians had experienced regular verbal abuse and physical abuse and all kinds of direct abuse from the soldiers. Can we go, please? I believe the pictures are explaining it all. We don't need to stop on this. We can go ahead. But in all other places of the world, children should be protected. But in Palestine, there is we think that Israeli forces are not treating our children not only as children, but not treating them as humans. There is a systematic policy of dehumanization of people and unchilding our children, like treating a child of 7 years old, 12 years old, 9 years old as a criminal because they just want to live on their, to live freely. In Palestine, we, as I said before, we have 600 checkpoints around the Palestinians area, okay? 600 checkpoints within Palestinian areas. Please go ahead. Checkpoints means that if you want to cross, this is what you have to meet. You have to wait to be ordered by a soldier to go on or to stop from a checkpoint, and you can see you can imagine how humiliating this way of treating people can be, and how these measurements can affect the mental health of people. Can we go ahead? Just keep going. Maybe I can. Yes, this is very, very important. Palestinians, we are talking about around 5 million Palestinians living in Palestinian territories. Since 1967, 700,000 Palestinians were arrested or detained in Israeli prisons. If you calculate 700,000 out of 5 million, we're talking about around what 20% of the Palestinian people have been in prison. So we don't have any families that don't have a father, a mother, a child that has experienced what a present and what is arresting means. Arrest of children is an everyday act. We have 600 children detained, arrested, and imprisoned in 1 year, in the year October 2015. We're talking about 165 children are arrested and detained in Israeli prisons on monthly basis. So we're talking about a systematic policy of arresting a child. And when you arrest a child and put them in prison, and some of them, when they release them to home detention, which means they stay in detained but at homes. It means that child will skip school, will not be able to go out of house, will not be able to meet friends. And home detentions means that their parents must act as soldiers and as policemen, not as parents anymore. So all these measurements we think are not arbitrary. These are systematic measurements to destroy the infrastructure of the Palestinian people. We can maybe just move another, go ahead, maybe just the girl, yes. So it's a systematic policy to destroy the infrastructure, as I said, of the Palestinian people, the infrastructure of families, of family units, of children, of what is human in us as Palestinians. And then when Palestinians resist, they are accused of being violent or aggression or terrorist. And as mental health professionals, we believe that resistance is actually a sign of mental health. Only a chair or table or a door or a wall doesn't move, but human beings are expected to resist to unfair hardness, to resist to ongoing criminal acts against them. This picture of a detained child that was just released from a prison after months of being arrested. She's 13 years old. And you can see what happens to a child when they don't resist. You can see the flat effect on her face. You can see that you can see her feelings. You can see that she is not only depressed, she is not here anymore. She is not responding to her parents. And this is what happens when you are shocked and ask not to resist and ask to just internalize that you are a criminal and you have to be judged according to this illegal legal system. We can stop here, Ryan. So again, in Palestine, I hope that the idea, you got the main idea. Still, we believe that the majority of the Palestinian people are not depressed. And I saw the questionnaire that you ran in the chat. A majority of the Palestinian people are not mentally ill. We are not in pathologies. We're not depressed, and we're not in actually all the term of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, is irrelevant to the Palestinian community, because post-traumatic stress disorder means that you are post something. You are, something happened and stopped and finished, and you are post this something. But the colonization of Palestine is still going on. So it's not the first word, it's not a crime that is finished, or a Vietnam war that finished and soldiers came back. No, we are living on daily colonization and occupation reality, with daily aspects of systematic crimes taking against crimes and measurements taking against the Palestinian people. Still, we don't have actually the privilege of being depressed, because people in Palestine, you know what, we want to live. We have resiliency factors, and our role as a Palestinian Counseling Center is supporting these resiliency factors. We want to be happy. We want to have children. We want to go to theater. We want to play music, enjoy music, enjoy restaurants, and have just a regular life. So usually the international community would like to see Palestinians as victims of the situation, and relate to Palestinians in a charity forms. And this is not the way that we see ourselves. As Palestinians, we see ourselves as a survivors of this ongoing colonization policy. And we ask the international community to take their responsibilities and stop the criminal and take a direct advocacy actions and legal actions to put an end to the occupation and colonization of Palestine, and hold the criminal responsible for their crimes. So this is very supportive to see you in this meeting, people with wisdom, people with interest to hear what is going on in Palestine. And this is actually very encouraging because sometimes we see that we don't want to believe that the Palestinian issue is Palestinian tragedy is dropped from the international interests. So I think it's enough. I can stop here. Maybe it's up to you. Maybe you would like to have some kind of discussion or questions. Would you like me to talk more about other things? Please, I'm open.
Thank you so much, Yuad.
Shukran.
You have provided us with an important perspective into the state of mental health care in Palestine. We would now like to introduce our action for the day and give everyone a few minutes to get started on it before we do the question and answer. As you can see on the slide, one second. As you can see on the slide, we would like to inform mental health experts and practitioners around the world about the mental health crisis in Palestine and give them ways that they can help. Yuad, is there anything you would like to say about our action time today? First. Yuad, is there anything you'd like to say about our action time today and what people can be doing to bring awareness to and support mental health in Palestine?
I think I've said many. First of all, keep supporting this international forums. Keep support Sabeel and following up what is going on with Sabeel. I invite you all to visit the website of the Palestinian Counseling Center and check maybe what kind of services we provide, and maybe one way or another you can help. But most important is that don't pathologize the Palestinian people, don't treat the symptoms, but respond to the causes of the things. And the causes of what is happening in Palestine is occupation and colonization of Palestine. And I think there your voice can be very important as international community. And maybe also something very short, that the international community usually provides financial support. I said as a charity, you want to see summer camps for children, you want to see parties, fun activities, but it's a very, very short-term funding for very specific activities, but it is not what is needed in Palestine. And sometimes also the international community suggest or offer trainings to the Palestinian professionals, supervision to the Palestinian professionals, though we very much admire this approach, but it is not what is needed, I believe, in Palestine. Sometimes it is needed, but most of the time, I think as professionals, we are most experienced in providing support during traumatic events. What is needed more is actions on the advocacy and legal levels. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now get to work. Instructions are on the screen. Please note that Zoom does not allow on-screen links. Everything you need is being shared in chat. We'll give you about 5 minutes to get started, figuring out what you are going to read or watch and how you can share Palestinian art with others. We will then come back to the Q&A. So we will start with the questions, and please, we also encourage people, everyone who has a question, please to write it in the chat so that we can ask you about. So the first question is, what do you do to maintain your own resilience in the face of such a devastating situation? You must feel very powerless at times.
Important question, and sometimes we don't have a clear answer. How we survive, how the Palestinian people manage to survive. It's not the story of mine, it's the story of my people. It's the story of 5 million Palestinian people. But you know, when you believe in something, it gives you power. And I believe in justice. I believe I have a say. I can name the criminal. I don't internalize the colonization. I can say this is not me, and I resist. we have families, we have friends, and as therapists, yes, sometimes we feel powerless. For example, when there has been invasions to West Bank, the schools of our children were invaded too. We were also part of this community that was attacked. We are not alien from the community. But in PCST specifically, besides the internal power that we have, we support each other and we provide what we say. What we call peer support. We have supervisors. I supervise my colleague, and another colleague of mine supervise me, so that we can see what is happening to each other. And sometimes I need somebody to tell me, Yuad, stop, go home and rest, go see your children, go cook, have a good dinner, hear music, and come back after 1 week. So we give ourselves this space, talking one to other, believing in justice, and not internalizing the colonization is very important, because actually what the policy of Israel aims is to let us believe that we are less, and that there are some people superior on us, and their superiority comes from the sky, maybe from God, something, but this is not the truth. Okay.
Next question. Why do men usually don't receive mental health help?
This is an international phenomena. You know that females depend more on communication to soothe their souls and themselves, while men choose to go internally and not externally. Men maybe go internally to their, they don't address others, and they don't open themselves, and they share less feelings with other emotions with others. But in PCC, we are trying to stand very clear against this idea. That's why any program that we suggest for youth, it's always females and males together. Any parental counseling to children, we invite both fathers and mothers together, and we try to involve fathers as much as possible in all our activities, because we know that the stability of family depends on fathers and mothers together. So men not addressing mental health services, this is the norm all over the world. I think in Canada, in Australia, and in Japan, in the United States, it's the same way. It's not different in Palestine. What is different is that we decided to actively address fathers, men, boys more and more, both on the prevention level, advocacy level, and intervention level. Okay, if I'm not answering exactly, you can just open maybe your microphone and do some kind of discussion. I don't know, whatever you want. I'm open. Further.
Okay, so next question. What sort of assistance does your organization and Palestine in general receive for mental health work from the United Nations and other organizations? How much more is needed?
I think that some of our activities are funded by the international community. and supported by the international community. And we get support in terms of funding and as well as in terms of forums that we can present our say. But this question maybe you can send to the organization itself. You know, I'm a practitioner, I'm a psychologist. I'm not very well aware of these aspects. But one thing that is very important to say, that many of the funds towards Palestine are cut because they asked Palestinians to sign the anti-terrorist claim or anti-terrorist something, as if we Palestinians are asked to say we are against terrorism, and we refuse this claim because we are asked to name our people as terrorists, and this is not the way things go here. You know, that's why a huge amount of funds stopped because PCC refused to sign these kind of agreements. Of course, we are against terrorism. Of course, this is not negotiable even. This is not logical to ask Palestinians to sign anti-terrorist statement. We are against the state terrorism, and we believe that the Palestinians are not the state terrorists here. Okay, this is in terms of funds.
Resisting injustice is healthy. What kind of resistance do you recommend?
Okay. Let me, what kind of resistance you recommend? I think you can be asked the same question. You can suggest also answers, but I believe that the international law, there is a right for any occupied people to resist to occupation. This is a right that is ensured on the international law. So, and you know, Palestinians are the only occupied people in the world that are asked to ensure the security of their occupier. You know, I didn't hear anywhere else in the world that colonized people are asked to secure the security, to ensure the security of their colonizer. So I believe any people that are under occupation has the right to resist. It's more important to ask what is being happened, what measurements are taken against the criminal, against the real terrorists. And you know, we don't want our children to be heroes. We don't want to resist, we just want to live. Give us our enable freedom in Palestine, and we will just be as happy as any other nation on the world. Resistance is not our dream. Resistance is a must because we are under occupation. But if we weren't under occupation and colonization, resistance isn't a dream of any child in Palestine. Our dream is freedom and justice living. This is our dream. So maybe it's less important to ask about resistance and more important to stop the situation that make us or as make us resist, you know. Okay.
How does Israel convince their soldiers and settlers to treat Palestinians as if they were not human? This is not the Dark Ages.
Are you sure this is not the Dark Ages? I'm not sure, because Israel has been doing this for 70 and something years now, and it's going on, and no one is stopping them. When we're talking about 165 child detained in monthly basis, and it's still going on. Maybe it's the dark ages in terms of the international community. When we're talking about 3,000 IDs confiscated from Palestinian residents on yearly basis from Jerusalem Palestinian people, meaning that these people can't go back to their homes. Maybe it's the dark ages. I think it's I'm not a socialist. I didn't study sociology. I didn't study politics. I'm just a therapist. Therapist is good enough, but I'm not, I have to talk politics sometimes, but I'm a therapist. But I believe that there is a systematic policy in Israel dehumanizing Palestinians from age of 0. The Israeli children are taught of this policy, and they internalize that Palestinians are not humans. That's why it's easy to kill them. It's legitimate to arrest them, to demolish their houses. There is no legal and ethical re-questioning of what is happening. Okay. And you can go to the website of the Palestinian Counseling Center and see some very important researches on that. And I think worldwide it happened many times around the world that a whole nation was systematically attacking other people and think that their actions are legitimate. It's a systematic policy.
Do you have any relationship with trauma counsel in other countries or at the international level?
Yes, actually, and maybe this is also my answer will connect to another the previous question about what we do to empower ourselves and to be more resilient. In Palestine, we believe in community reactions and in collective reactions. That's why we established many nets. We established the Arab Union of psychologists inside what we call the Israel today. We established the Global Palestinian Mental Health Network that enables any Palestinian professional all over the world to be part of this network. And these two forums help Palestinian professionals to connect, to exchange information, and to develop our services and quality of services, of course. And of course, we try to connect with other international forums. We are very active in Europe, in the United States. There are many networks supporting Palestinian mental health, and we are open to any other suggestions of yours, if possible, because this is not only supporting us on the individual level, it will support also our community, and we believe that it's part of the advocacy to hold the criminal responsible for their actions.
And the last question, does the PCC prescribe medications?
No, PCC actually is not a medical center. We don't have doctors or psychiatrists. And as I said before, we don't want to pathologize our beneficiaries. We even call them people addressing the services beneficiaries and not patients. It's part of a policy that we believe in. But in Palestine, there are psychiatrists, there are very good doctors, and we are very well connected. Sometimes when we need, we have very good networks with doctors, with Palestinian Ministry of Health, and we refer people to doctors. But another crime is taking on that level is that medications, psychiatric medications in Palestine are not stable in their availability. So sometimes the funds ends and the patients can't even address medications because there aren't any. And having medications, not having medications, it's up to Israel, you know. So we are all as a community are held hostages in this in our own land, but we are survivors. So no, we don't describe medications yet, at least.
So thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you Youad for dedicating your time and sharing with us.
Thank you all. You can send us any other questions if you need at our website, and I'll be more than happy to answer you. Okay?
Thank you everyone for joining us today. A link to a video of this gathering along with all the links shared today will be available on the Kumi Now website and on YouTube in a day or so. It will be shared in the next newsletter. You can subscribe to Kumi Now on YouTube and subscribe to our newsletter to make sure you receive them. We would greatly appreciate it if you share this amazing session with your friends and colleagues, as well as information on our future sessions. Next week, we will focus on the people and corporations profiting off of Israel's illegal occupation of Palestine. If you'd like to be reminded of the online gathering an hour before they begin, you can register for email reminders at kuminow.com/online using the form at the bottom of the page. We hope to see you back here in a week's time. Thanks again and good night.